The forest was alive with the hum of unseen creatures, their calls echoing through the dense canopy like a symphony of whispers. The air was thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, and the faint glow of bioluminescent fungi cast an eerie light on the twisted roots and gnarled trunks of the ancient trees. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the laws of civilization held no sway. Captain Elias Voss adjusted the strap of his pulse rifle and glanced at the holographic map projected from his wrist unit. The signal was faint, but it was there, a distress beacon emanating from somewhere deep within the forest. His team had been sent to investigate, though none of them were particularly thrilled about venturing into the uncharted wilderness of this alien world. "Stay sharp," he muttered to the two soldiers trailing behind him. "We don't know what's out here." The forest seemed to close in around them as they pressed forward, the trees growing taller and the underbrush thicker. The distress signal grew stronger, but so did the feeling of being watched. Elias couldn't shake the sensation that unseen eyes were tracking their every move. Then he saw her. Perched high in the branches of a massive tree was a figure, barely visible in the dim light. She was crouched like a predator, her body tense and ready to spring. Her skin was a deep, iridescent blue, and her long, silver hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall of moonlight. She wore a patchwork of leather and woven fibers, and her eyes, glowing faintly in the shadows, were fixed on Elias with an intensity that made his breath catch in his throat. "Contact," he whispered, raising his rifle. "Don't move." The figure didn't flinch. She simply stared at him, her expression unreadable. Elias hesitated. She didn't look like a threat, but appearances could be deceiving. He had seen enough of the galaxy to know that even the most innocent-looking creatures could be deadly. "Who are you?" he called out, his voice echoing through the trees. "Are you the one who sent the distress signal?" For a moment, there was no response. Then, slowly, the figure stood. She was taller than he had expected, her movements graceful and deliberate. She stepped onto a lower branch, her bare feet gripping the rough bark with ease, and tilted her head as if studying him. "I am no savage," she said, her voice low and melodic. "Though I suppose you would think otherwise, given your kind's tendency to judge by appearances." Elias frowned. "My kind? You mean humans?" She nodded. "I have seen your ships in the sky. I know what you are, and I know why you are here." Elias exchanged a glance with his team. This was not what they had expected. "If you're not the one who sent the signal, then who did?" The woman's expression darkened. "It was a mistake. A foolish attempt to call for help from those who would sooner see me dead than offer aid." Elias lowered his rifle slightly. "What are you talking about?" She hesitated, then leaped down from the tree, landing lightly on the forest floor. Up close, Elias could see the intricate patterns of scars that crisscrossed her arms and shoulders, and the faint glow of her eyes was even more unsettling. She was beautiful, but in a way that was almost otherworldly, like a creature born of the stars themselves. "My name is Caliph," she said. "I was once a member of the Ve'ani, a people who have lived on this world for millennia. But I was cast out, exiled for a crime I did not commit." Elias raised an eyebrow. "What crime?" Caliph's gaze hardened. "I was accused of betraying my people to your kind. They believed I had shared our secrets with the humans who came before you, the ones who sought to exploit our world for its resources. But I was innocent. The real traitor was someone else, someone who framed me to cover their own guilt." Elias felt a pang of sympathy, though he wasn't sure if he could trust her. "If that's true, then why didn't you try to clear your name?" Caliph's lips curled into a bitter smile. "The Ve'ani do not tolerate dissent. Once the elders pass judgment, there is no appeal. I was branded a traitor and banished to the forest, left to die. But I survived, and now I live as an outcast, watching as my people prepare for war against your kind. Elias's stomach tightened. War? What do you mean? Calith's eyes bore into his. The Veani have grown tired of the humans who come to our world, taking what they please and leaving destruction in their wake. They see your arrival as the final insult. They are gathering their forces, preparing to strike against your colony. If they succeed, they will wipe out every human on this planet. Elias's mind raced. If what she was saying was true, then they were walking into a trap. The distress signal had been a ruse, a way to lure them into the forest where the Veani could pick them off one by one. Why are you telling us this? He asked. If your people are planning an attack, why warn us? Calitha's expression softened, and for the first time, Elias saw a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. Because I do not want to see more bloodshed. My people are misguided, but they are not evil. They act out of fear and desperation. If there is a way to stop this war before it begins, I will do whatever I can to help. Elias studied her for a long moment, weighing her words. He didn't know if he could trust her, but he also couldn't ignore the possibility that she was telling the truth. The stakes were too high. All right, he said finally. What do you suggest we do? Calitha's eyes gleamed with determination. I will take you to the heart of the forest, to the sacred grove where the elders gather. If you can convince them that you mean no harm, that you're not like the others who came before you, perhaps they will listen. But you must be prepared. They will not welcome you with open arms. Elias nodded. We'll take that chance. As they followed Calith deeper into the forest, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they were walking into the unknown. The trees seemed to close in around them, their twisted branches forming a canopy that blocked out the sky. The air grew colder, and the sounds of the forest faded into an eerie silence. Finally, they reached the sacred grove. It was a clearing bathed in the soft glow of bioluminescent plants, with a massive tree at its center. Its trunk was gnarled and ancient, its branches stretching high into the sky. Around the base of the tree stood a circle of Veani elders, their faces stern and unyielding. Calith stepped forward, her head held high. Elders, she said, her voice ringing out in the stillness. I bring before you the humans who have come to our world. They wish to speak with you, to prove that they are not our enemies. The elders turned their gaze to Elias and his team, their eyes filled with suspicion. One of them, a tall figure with a staff carved from the same ancient tree, stepped forward. Why should we listen to you, Calith? He demanded. You are an exile, a traitor to your people. Calith's jaw tightened, but she did not back down. I am no traitor. I was falsely accused, and I have paid the price for a crime I did not commit. But that does not change the fact that I still care for our people. I do not want to see them destroyed in a war that can be avoided. The elder's eyes narrowed. And what are the humans? Can they be trusted? Elias stepped forward, his pulse rifle slung over his shoulder. We come in peace, he said. We are not here to exploit your world or harm your people. We only wish to coexist. The elders studied him for a long moment, then turned to the others. They spoke in low voices, their words unintelligible to Elias. Finally, the elder with the staff turned back to him. Your words are persuasive, he said, but words are not enough. If you truly wish to prove your intentions, you must undergo the trial of the ancients. Only then will we know if you are worthy of our trust. Elias glanced at Calith, who nodded solemnly. It is a test of courage and strength, she explained. If you succeed, the elders will consider your plea. But if you fail, she didn't need to finish the sentence. Elias understood the stakes. All right, he said. We'll do it. The trial of the ancients was unlike anything Elias had ever experienced. It took them deep into the heart of the forest, where they faced a series of challenges designed to test their resolve. They navigated treacherous terrain, fought off vicious predators, and solved intricate puzzles that required both intelligence and teamwork. Through it all, Caliph guided them, her knowledge of the forest proving invaluable. She moved with the grace of a predator, her instincts sharp and her senses attuned to every sound and movement. Elias found himself relying on her more and more, and by the time they reached the final challenge, he realized that he had come to trust her completely. The final challenge was a test of character. They were brought before a massive stone altar where they were asked to make a sacrifice, something of great value to them. Elias hesitated, then removed the dog tags he had worn since his first day as a soldier. They were a symbol of his commitment to his team, to the mission, and to the ideals he had sworn to uphold. As he placed the dog tags on the altar, he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He had proven himself, not just to the Veani, but to himself. When they returned to the sacred grove, the elders were waiting. The elder with the staff stepped forward, his expression unreadable. "You have passed the trial of the ancients," he said. "You have proven your courage, your strength, and your integrity. We will consider your plea for peace." Elias felt a surge of relief, but he knew that their work was far from over. The road to peace would be long and difficult, but for the first time, he felt a glimmer of hope. As they left the grove, Caliph fell into step beside him. "You did well," she said, "but this is only the beginning." Elias nodded. "I know, but at least we have a chance." Caliph smiled, a rare and beautiful sight. "Thank you," she said, "for giving me a chance as well." As they walked back through the forest, Elias couldn't help but feel that they had forged a bond that went beyond words. Caliph was no longer just an exile or a guide. She was a friend, and together, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. The forest was still alive with the hum of unseen creatures, but now it felt less like a threat and more like a promise. A promise of new beginnings, of hope, and of a future where two very different peoples could find a way to coexist. And for the first time in a long time, Elias felt like he was exactly where he was meant to be.